Who would have known the worst part of Siege was the Siege itself? Good thing bot drop removed that entirely. What's going on, Jam fam, and welcome back to another video. So in this update, we got a new mode called Bot Drop, and the goal of this mode is to kill robots and collect their bolts while stopping the enemy team from doing that exact same thing. And the first team that collects 8 of those bolts ends up winning the match. And I know I made the joke about it being Siege without the Siege part, but if it doesn't have Siege, what does that make it then? In all seriousness, I actually think this mode is more of a gem grab clone with a Siege skin on it, rather than an attempt to fix Siege itself. Anyway, I've been playing this mode a ton, and I just want to go over my initial impressions of the mode, some tips that I noticed while playing it, and what brawlers I think work really well in the mode. Before I get started, make sure you comment what you think about the mode, and who your favorite brawler is to play in Bot Drop. As always, I would love to hear what you guys think about this subject. And remember, if you enjoy my rambling, make sure you leave a like on the video, and if you're new, consider dropping a sub as well. And with all that out of the way, let's get started. Yay! Woohoo! Alright, so this is probably going to be a really hot take, but I am actually really enjoying Bot Drop personally, and there's two big reasons that really stick out to me about why I'm enjoying it, so I just want to talk about those really quick. So the first thing is that, like I mentioned already, it feels like a gem grab clone to me, and I actually really enjoy playing gem grab. It's probably like my third favorite mode in the whole game, so that definitely plays a big factor into why I'm enjoying playing Bot Drop. But I also like how Bot Drop kind of changes the dynamic of gem grab at the exact same time. Like, traditionally, gem grab is meant to be played kind of at a stalemate where each person's kind of holding their lanes and the mid-brawlers kind of just inch up and try to scoop a gem here and there. But Bot Drop changes that by forcing you to fight enemies and bots at the exact same time. And this definitely adds ebbs and flows to fights because sometimes bots just spawn at the wrong time and they force you out of your lane entirely because you're in the middle of a fight with the bot and the enemies and you're just taking way too much damage. And then there's strategies like kiting the bot back to your spawn so you can collect the bolts easier, or you let the bots go to their spawn, that way you can gain control of the map a little bit better. There's a whole bunch of different dynamics in this mode, and I actually just really appreciate the change of pace that it brings. And then the other thing I really like about this game mode is that it feels like the most meta brawlers for this mode are not always the most meta brawlers in most of the other game modes. Gem Grab, Bounty, and Knockout all definitely prefer more long-range brawlers, and then there's even maps for Brawl Ball and Heist that are also long-range oriented. And right now, I just feel like there's not a lot of places for mid-range and tank brawlers to shine in the meta. Of course, there's always going to be outlier brawlers, but for the most part, you're going to have brawlers like Byron, Piper, Eve, Belle. Those are going to be stable picks in most maps and modes, and it just feels boring in my opinion. Now, at this point, I haven't seen all the maps for Bot Drop yet. You guys might have, but I haven't actually looked into it that far. But I feel like, for the most part, mid-range brawlers with piercing damage are going to dominate the meta for this mode. And at the exact same time, snipers are actually going to struggle in this mode because they have a hard time dealing with both the bots and the enemies at the exact same time because of their long reload speed and their lack of, like, pierce damage. So it's looking like this mode's definitely going to have a bit of a different meta, which is another breath of fresh air for this game, in my opinion.
Hashtag loser.
Alright, on to my tips, and huge disclaimer before we get too far into this, I am far from the best player at Brawl Stars, everybody knows it, so I'm not even going to try to hide it, but these are just the two biggest things that I noticed while pushing this mode, so I just wanted to share them with you a little bit. Now for my pro viewers, please, comment your best tips for this mode so us plebs can learn from you. Impart your greatness upon us. All right, my first tip is that the bots actually have a very weird aggro system, and it seems like the bots were never coming after me for some reason, and someone actually had to explain to me how it actually worked, because I could not figure it out for the life of me. Well, it turns out the bot's aggro system is actually determined by the last brawler that actually attacked them. So they're going to aggro onto that last brawler that shot them. So if you're trying to kite a bot back to your spawn, you need to constantly be shooting them to hold their attention. And likewise, if you don't want a bot to follow you, say you're trying to back off and heal or something like that, and you don't want the bot to pester you nonstop, you need to either have a teammate or an enemy shoot the bot. That way it goes after them and leaves you alone. Just make sure you try to keep the bot AI in mind when you're playing in the mode, and make sure you try to use it to your advantage whenever you need to. And the other thing that I noticed that helped me win more consistently was that focusing on the enemy was way more important than focusing on the bots. Now, this is a really simple tip, and it does make a lot of sense, but it's really easy to forget when you're playing in a match. And that's because killing the bots and collecting their bolts is the objective, and normally it is better to play the objective rather than playing for kills. But the thing is that if you're focusing on the bots more than the enemy, then the bots are going to stay focused on you, and the enemy's going to be attacking you at the exact same time, and it just becomes a lot to deal with all at once. And remember, if your enemy is stuck respawning more than they're actually on the field, then they have no chance of killing the bots and collecting the bolts themselves, so that's another way to deter them from being able to play the objective. So yeah, at least in my experience, the game is way easier to play when you focus on the enemy before you focus on the bots.
I'm on fire!
Alright, and the last thing I want to talk about in this video is just what brawlers I think are going to be good in the mode, and like I already mentioned, I think there's going to be a big focus on brawlers that have piercing damage, because that enables them to be able to deal with the bots and enemy brawlers at the exact same time. All right, first thing, I think tanks are going to be a pretty good option in this mode because they're good at taking out bots and brawlers very quickly, and they also have the HP to be able to let them get bolts a little more effectively. Rosa was a pretty big standout to me personally because she does have the piercing damage like we talked about, and her super also enables her to stay in an aggro position for a lot longer, so she can keep enemies pushed back from collecting bolts. Buzz and Primo can also be pretty good in the mode because they do have piercing damage like we talked about, and they also have mobility supers, so they can be able to get around the map pretty effectively. Also, Frank was pretty good in the mode, but of course, it's Frank, so he does come with all his normal drawbacks. That being, you know, a harder super to land and standing still while attacking. So, if you like to play Frank, he's pretty good in this mode. If you don't like to play Frank, you don't have to play him. Next up are going to be throwers. Now, throwers aren't going to be the best at collecting bolts, but I do feel like they do offer a ton of area control, so you could definitely use them for that. And to me, the big standouts in this category are going to be Sprout and Barley. Those two throwers have the best area of control in my opinion, and it's pretty easy for them to hit multiple brawlers or bots at the exact same time with each projectile, so I definitely could see them working pretty well in the mode. But to me, I think the brawlers that are really going to define the meta for this mode are actually going to be mid-range brawlers with piercing damage like I already talked about. And to me, the big standouts were definitely going to be Carl, Ems, Amber, and Sandy. Other than Sandy, these brawlers offer long-range piercing damage, so they can deal with brawlers and bots at the exact same time, and they can charge their super from a safe distance. Sandy specifically does have the piercing damage like I talked about, but his super will allow him to take a more aggro position on the map, being able to hide and stuff, and it pairs very nicely with tanks, which I already mentioned I think are good for the mode. Now, obviously I didn't get a chance to test all 50-something brawlers that we have. These are just the ones that stood out to me while I was playing in the game mode. But if there's ones that I didn't mention that you think are good, comment it down below. But yeah, overall, I think Bot Drop's a really solid mode, and I really enjoyed what I've played of it so far. I really enjoyed the change of pace that it brought to Gem Grab, and I really enjoy having to deal with enemies and bots at the exact same time. It's definitely an experience you don't have anywhere else in the entire game right now. But like I said, let me know what you think about the mode, and let me know what brawlers you enjoy in the mode. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.